Um, Good day, everyone. Hope everyone is well, and Thank you for joining our event today. The event is titled CESA Gender Mainstreaming Webinar, How to Empower Yourself as a Graduate. So this event will be dedicated to the young professionals that are upcoming in our country, and we hope that this event will empower you and yeah, you learn a lot from it. Our line of speakers are very empowering, and looking forward to our interaction with you as well. So as you can see on my screen, we have the agenda for today's meeting. So I'll start off with the introduction and setting the scene. Then our presentations will include job hunting, building a professional network, owning your own path, navigate your professional journey to professional registration with EXA. Then afterwards we'll have our questions, and I'll have Marizelle at the end closing off. Um, yeah, just to start off with the presentation, my name is Itumeleng Sitlhabane, and I'll be your facilitator today for the Gender Mainstreaming webinar, Self-Empowerment. So a bit about myself. I am a civil engineer, and currently I'm working on managing and executing engineering projects that are focused on waterway management and infrastructure improvement. I am a graduate from the University of Cape Town. I completed my Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering in 2022. Sorry for that. And currently, I work in Lukosi Consulting Engineers, but previously I was employed at the National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. My leadership roles currently include CESA YPF Eastern Cape Branch. There, I am the chairperson, and on the national branch, I'm part of the EXCO. And in my other professional affiliates include CIC. Then one quote that I believe in life moving forward is that you should always run your own race, and you shouldn't have questions about who cares about what you're doing, but the only question that matters is, am I progressing as a graduate? So just a quick recap. In our previous webinar, we tackled the title Women in Engineering. So that webinar was facilitated by Jabulile, who is one of our speakers here today. So I think she'll emphasize more on this in her presentation. So there, the goals that we had there for women in engineering was to enhance the gender diversity in a male-dominated space. And another one was to increase the number of female engineers that are in this industry. As we know that in our industry, there's not a lot of female engineers, and it's important for it to be therefore to be equality in term equity gender equity within the space. And lastly, we evaluated the stature, therefore that's within the industry. Then on the same dialogue, we also discuss how we can contribute to enhancing participation and retaining the engineers that we have in our country, and also promotion. And one of the key things that was there is we have to embrace meritocracy, and also provide our graduates with adequate training and experience as they go into the working space. Second, lastly, it's also to have mentors and role models that are credible to guide the young engineers. Lastly is to hold dialogues such as this, where we discuss that are key topics about gender mainstreaming. I'm sure as you're joining this webinar, you're asking yourself, why should I be here? What's the importance of me being here? But as we know, as I've said, I graduated in 2022. So going into the workspace, there were a lot of challenges that I had to overcome. And one of them being I had to transition from academia into the industry. So there, one of the key challenges I had with my supervisor was, how do I balance between theory and practice? because going into the workspace, you have a lot of theory from varsity, and now in practice, things are different. And how do you balance that? And another one is lack of practical experience. So this is where you have to do your in-house training and stuff like that. It has to be done. So those are some of the challenges. And also going into the workspace, there's a tight competition. So going into those interviews, acing them and getting the job that you want, those are some of the challenges that I had to overcome. And currently, I think this is an ongoing challenge that I think all the graduates face is professional development. How do you develop yourself to have the competencies that are required for you to be able to register as a professional engineer one day? Then also work-life balance. In university, things were different. Your student life was different to how it is now as you're working. So having a balance in all of those things, it's very critical because this can affect everything else because this is essential for who you are and the stuff that you do on a daily basis. And lastly, one of the key challenges is underrepresentation. So going into the workspace, I think a lot of female engineers, what they face is when they go into the workspace, they get there, their supervisor is male, and all their other colleagues are male, and they find it hard to sort of relate to people in their workspace because there's hardly a female. So those are some of the challenges that as graduates we experience. Um, then going into today's presentations, the key speakers that will be tackling all the challenges that are there. With the first speaker, addressing how we as graduates can have successful job hunts and look for job opportunities in this competitive market, and also how to build and leverage a strong professional network, how we can harness the power of self-empowerment to boost our career growth, and lastly, how to navigate the journey towards professional registration with EXA. So that is the last of my presentation. I think now we can go into one of our speakers. Our first speaker is Matume. So I will just read a short bio on Matume and what Matume is about. So Matume is a professional in higher education, community development consulting, and medical legal advisory. He holds a master's in psychology from Wits. He serves as a lecturer and a faculty. He serves as a lecturer and is part of the faculty of the psychology in the Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment. He's also registered with HPCSA. He offers counseling and wellness programs. He also addresses issues like trauma, stress, and personal growth. Madume is involved in medical legal cases, youth development, team development, and leadership training. So this is a bit of Matume, but I'm sure Matume, as he's about to start his presentation now, he also tell a lot more about himself. Matume, over to you. I'll stop sharing and you can take over.
Thank you so much, Itumeleng. You can hear me that side?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Lovely. I'm going to just be focusing on two questions that I had sent that side. And I think transitioning from being a graduate, from being a student to a graduate, looking for a job is, I think, it's one of the most difficult developmental stages that most of us go through. So here I'm going to be talking about some of the key challenges that recent graduates face, and then I'll go into how such could be managed. And then I'll also speak about how then a student could leverage, graduate could leverage some of the services that are offered within the universities. And I think as many of you can agree that the issue of job hunting for engineers does not start when you are when you are when you're a graduate. Actually, for most students, they start at the second year level when you are actually looking for vocation work. especially if you don't have a bursary. It's much difficult to find a vacation work. And I've came across a number of students who are really, I mean, some students are even left with just that module, that module of vacation work just to actually graduate. So this is a long life journey, I think, for engineers, and it can be quite stressful. I mean, we can think about issues around stress and anxiety, of just feeling uncertain and the pressure to find a job that really can cause a lot of pain, if I can put it that way, emotional pain specifically. And if one is busy and has been feeling that one has been getting a lot of rejection, it can really lead to feeling that one is inadequate. And more than anything, really leading to people to feel a bit demotivated. But also because I've came across engineers, it seems like the engineering profession it's actually a really difficult profession to even finish it on record time. So it's very easy for one to start feeling like they are unqualified and doubting one's abilities, despite actually finishing the degree itself. Um, and also, I mean, if you can't find a job, your colleagues have found, your peers, the people that you're in class with, are finding a job. It's quite easy to start comparing yourself to others and feeling like maybe there's something wrong with you, maybe you are inadequate in some way. So some sort of kind of imposter stress syndrome also then start to develop for some people. But at the center of it, it's that really feeling uncertain and having a sense of fear for the future of what, like, it's really unpredictable. Things are getting very expensive. A lot more graduates are not having opportunities to actually transition into working environments. The financial pressure also, family, for most of us, we are in a country where majority of us coming from very disadvantaged background, find that actually you're the first person to graduate from the family. But also there's some people who are, your families might be doing well and now they're looking at you like, what's happening with you? Why did we invest so much money into your job? So all this can really contribute to one feeling that there's something wrong with them, they are inadequate, and it can really lead to a lot of problematic issues, which is where I really would like to thank CESA for this opportunity in actually having these conversations, because for many students, for many graduates, it's really, really difficult. I mean, starting from second year, it's really difficult to actually secure a vacation work. And now, just imagine now it's a whole job, and now you have this qualification. And so this is a wonderful opportunity, and I would like to thank Godfrey and the colleagues that have really came up with this space for graduate to be able to network, but more than anything, to be able to be informed about what is happening in their profession. So a big part of this in terms of really dealing with this stage of one's life is really building a supportive network. I mean, starting from family and friends. For some of us, our families may not understand because we've been told that, just go to school and everything will be okay. But it's only when you actually finish school, or I mean, not necessarily finish, but when you finish your degree, or your diploma or whatever it is that one has done, that you realize things are actually quite difficult. So to really have a space where one has friends, one reach out to their mentors, one reach out to service providers, career service providers, for this kind of emotional support and practical advice in terms of what's happening. Because most of us are really stuck, not necessarily because we are inadequate, because we are not really informed about what has been happening. For a period of 5 to 7 years, we have predominantly been focusing on our studies, and you're like, you know what, I just need to focus and pass. and then jiggy jiggy now you have to find a job. So really a support system is one of the most important things, and I really encourage us to find a mentor, to find someone senior that you look up to, and to say, you know what, can you mentor me, can you show me how you went about this, can I even can I work with you, can I volunteer if it's the university environment, for example, or wherever it is that one finds themselves. But also to keep on, really skill development is quite a crucial thing to continue to improve one's skills. I think within CESA and within EXA there is continued professional development to really look out to those opportunities that one can reach if they're free. I guess if one has not gotten a job as yet, that would be really helpful. It will also increase the chances of one networking with those that are in the profession. But I think then one of the most important things then becomes is the how I talk to myself, and those conversations that I'm having, those monologues that I'm having with myself, how it is that if I'm talking negatively with myself, it's definitely going to not have a positive impact on my self-esteem and motivation in general. So it's then to start talking to ourselves in such a way to say, you know what, I have done this, I have a degree, it has been a difficult journey for me to be here, and to acknowledge that in itself, to say, yes, I'm looking for a job. Yes, I would like to kind of have some financial freedom, for example. But this is so far, this is what I have. And to create some sort of prototyping of one's journey in terms of how to move from where one is and what they have to move to whatever it is that they are aspiring to have in their life. And really setting realistic goals in terms of job search, really, it's like some of us expect to just get it just like that from the search, and it's very difficult to get it from the beginning. But to really say, you know what, even if applying, for example, you go for an interview, don't get a job, to really use that opportunity to ask more questions. How can I improve myself? How can I improve my skills to qualify maybe next time if there's a future job? So interviews, they must not be seen from a point of this is just merely to get a job, but also it's an opportunity to try to develop one's skills in terms of handling the interview spaces, but more also in terms of learning about the culture of the companies that one or organization that one is kind of aspiring to be part of. So I think for me that is really the thing, and I think it's spaces such as CESA that are really wonderful in really reaching out to students, not only when they are graduates, but from a space of vacation work and really developing their skills from them. And I think the next part of my talk will go into how do we. I tend to feel that as students, we are in campus and we focus merely on the marks, and I have a design project, let me get it done. I have this what project, let me get done. I have exams, let me get done. Chigi Chigi is 4 years, you are done with your degree, but there's nothing more to that. We don't know how to write CVs, for example. We don't know how to write cover letters, for example. We don't know how to coordinate oneself within interviews. You don't know how to use LinkedIn, for example. You don't know what opportunities are out there, the career fairs and networking events that universities hold, webinars and seminars. And also many universities have alumni networks and mentorship programs. So I think that it is this conversation, for me, is a conversation that should actually be targeting second years going back, so that they can start really using opportunities that are available within the universities. How do I design a resume? How do I write my cover letter? Many companies will want cover letters. What kind of opportunities are available within the university while I'm still a student that can transform, that can improve my CV? For example, many universities have volunteering programs. Can those will those improve my CVs? Yes, we want to give back, but giving back also has as a way that we could contribute positively to our career development. And then also is really, how do I start practicing interviews? As in many universities offer spaces where they can prepare you for an interview and how to carry yourself in an interview and how to really improve that space, because you have never went for an interview. And it shouldn't be that when one finishes their degree, that's the only time they start thinking about interviews, because then that will decrease the chances of them getting a job as quick as possible. Universities have career fairs and networking events, and those are great opportunities. I mean, I know that the engineering curriculum is quite heavy in many institutions, so it's quite difficult at times to find time to be part of such opportunities, such events that are happening. But I do really encourage it, especially with similar to this one that is online, where you can just attend online while in the background maybe working on something that could be really useful information that you could use. But also, even after one has exited the university environment, the university environment has a lot of alumni programs that they run in terms of networking, and they focus specifically on different fields, engineering and all the other ones, humanity fields and science and all these other things. So I think more than anything for me is to really develop a growth mindset, to say one is going to continuously be growing. And even though at times when we are finding ourselves in a situation where we don't have jobs, there's other things that you could be doing in your community. For example, you could be easily helping matric students. You don't know what the teacher at the school will connect you to. You don't know what the principal will connect you to, who they will connect you to. So it's to really to not dwell into a sense of being helpless during this part. Yes, finding a job is critical. Finding financial opportunities is very, very critical. And the question is, how do we leverage the opportunities and the resources that we have around us that could transform the way it is that we kind of cater, or rather learn more about what is available around us. I mean, many of us know that, I mean, yes, you're qualified as an engineer, but you know nothing about the industry. Right now, you have many engineers here. I mean, many of the colleagues that will be speaking are engineers. Can you reach out to them on LinkedIn and say, yo, can you mentor me? Even though, yes, you may not have a job for me, but can you mentor me? Can you expose me to the field that I've learned about so much in the textbook? So staying informed is really, really, really an important one. And for those that are adverts, I mean, we run quite a lot of things. We prepare people we help people with their CVs. We prepare people. We help people with preparation for interviews. We help people writing up their cover letter. We have a program that is industry readiness that is focusing on third years and fourth year, which personally for me is a bit too late, but anyway, we do have it, that is kind of helping people to really start thinking around, how do I develop myself? As much as many of us, for example, might have distinctions, have done really well on paperwork, there's some important skills. For example, I mean, the colleagues will hopefully touch on it. For example, soft skills, being able to work in a team, are really, really crucial for any person, for any engineer, for any professional for that matter. So how does one start thinking around those things? How do I improve certain things? Yes, I have a degree, but what other skills can I get that will improve my chances of working for a company? Not in, maybe even at times, not necessarily working for a company, because we have amazing skills, even developing a company. How do we stay informed in terms of the new, the kind of innovative ideas that are happening right now in terms of digitalization, for example, in terms of climate change, in terms of water and sanitation, that is, which are big issues that are happening now. How do we stay informed in those kind of issues? So I think it's also from a personal level to really start really checking, what is it that I find interesting, as much as yes, a job is important, but is there a way I could align my job with my values as a person, so that I'm fulfilled. I mean, yes, we can make all the money we can, but is what we are doing, are we finding important, and how do we stay in track in terms of what's currently happening and the recent developments in research and innovation. And I think another thing is that, I mean, it's a bit difficult to to go for postgrad, especially when one is looking for financial freedom, and but I really do also think that one can continue and go into their masters, PhD if possible, and really see leverage those opportunities while one is looking for a job. There's masters programs that are just a year. If one has been sitting at home until March, is it possible maybe to register for a short course or for a master's program and to enhance their skills? And maybe hopefully there'll be funding. There's NRF and all these companies that are offering funding in terms of that. So there's multiple solutions to this problem that is, yes, it's not always easy to get a job, but how can one really advance their skills as they continue to do so? As they continue to search for their job. The one call that I would like to make before I end, and I know my colleague here is probably saying, Madumia, taking the time, is how do we, as stakeholders that are here, start helping students from a second year? A lot of students are struggling, and I'm sure that many of them will agree. They are struggling just to find a vacation work for what, 6 weeks? And already that is having a huge impact on their studies, because now if I know I can't find vacation work, and then I need to do 2 vacations work in my whole degree, and I'm still waiting to do my second year, that start to really start affecting my performance and my self-esteem and my kind of view on myself and the ability to actually do well in this profession. So how do we also, as stakeholders within the engineering profession, start to really put our hands together to really collaborate with universities and really start doing what we can for students from a very low junior years of their degree. Thank you so much, Dumele. Sorry for taking more time.
It's
And
a,
yes, thank you.
it's an absolute pleasure, Matuma. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I think what I took from it was the fact that just waiting for you to graduate and getting your certificate is not enough it's not enough in terms of getting ready for work. You have to start while you're studying and set your goals straight and your priorities. But yeah,
Definitely.
thank you. Thank you
Thank
a
you so
lot for
much.
that. Thank you. I see there are a lot of questions in the group chat. So I urge everyone to continue sending their questions. We're gonna do them at the end after all the speakers have spoken, and I'm just gonna go through those questions. We're gonna have a Q&A, so please keep them coming, and let's keep this webinar a discussion so that we can learn from each other. So our next speaker is Nonkululeko Tusini. So Nonkululeko is a mechanical engineer, and he's involved in the documentation of strategies and tools that help engineers increase their skills, be more impactful at their workplace, and stand out in their careers. And another thing to point out with Nonkululeko, he's the co-founder and owner of Polucraft. I think it is based in Johannesburg. Yeah, Gauteng, South Africa. So over to you, Nonkululeko, for your presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Itumeleng, for the introduction. It's Nkululeko. Nonkululeko, it's a girl.
Sorry for that. Nkululeko.
Yes, it's Nkululeko Tusini. Thank you again for the opportunity to join this webinar. I'm always happy and willing to be part of the CESA initiatives, because I really think that they are very fantastic in advancing the engineering industry, which is really what I sort of stand for and what I always try to preach. So my name is Nkululeko Tusini. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession. I've got the bachelor's in mechanical and a master's in engineering management from the University of Johannesburg. And I've been registered as a professional engineer for over a decade now. So yeah, so I've been sort of in the industry for quite a while. Started in design, moved into maintenance, then moved into consulting engineering, and today I run my own company called Palucraft, which is an accredited skills development provider, and we specialize in developing skills interventions for the mining, manufacturing, and construction industries, and with a specific focus on engineers, technicians, and artisans. So in today's talk, I'm going to be talking about how to empower yourself as a graduate. So touching on this theme of touching on the theme of job hunting as well as networking. So the purpose. So by the time I finish this presentation, I'm going to be as quick as possible. I had to cut the 50 slides into 4 slides. So I'm going to really summarize a lot of what you call is on this topic of job hunting and building a professional network. So by the time I finish, I need you to have a clear framework on how you can position yourself for proper job hunting with a specific focus on graduate engineers. So by graduate engineers, I mean people who've completed their their undergrad studies and they're sort of in the market, but this is also applicable if you're still studying, and whilst you're still studying your engineering qualification and what you need to do from there. So what I'm going to be talking about is, number one, I'm going to start with the common mistake that everyone does when it comes to job hunting. So my colleague already touched on 2 or 3 of those things, but I'm going to just expand a little bit on why is job hunting so difficult for you. And from there, I'm going to touch on a bit on what are the common mistakes that graduates do when it comes to building a professional network. So I would not be a proper engineer if I just give you problems, and problems like the economists. You know, the economists, they always give you problems. They, on the one hand, is this problem. On the other hand, is this problem without any solutions. Even our politicians, they're always giving us problems, and no solutions. So I'm going to give you the problems, and then from the problems, I'm going to give you the solution, right? So the solution will be in the form of a job hunting framework that I'm going to share with you. And now you need to then have a look at this framework and put it in your own context. So in the framework, I will make examples and provide a few tips there and there. And obviously, you're going to have to take that framework and then apply it to your specific situation. Now, the biggest problem that all graduates have when they're job hunting is this noma yini boza yami mentality, right? So if you're looking for a job, and then they're asking you, what job are you looking for? Just give me anything, right? So for my colleagues who don't know this noma yini boza yami, it's a colloquial slang that is used in the townships, especially with people who are just looking for opportunities. And then when you're asking them, what opportunity are you looking for, and the person says noma yini boza yami, and that means just give me anything. And that is the biggest mistake. Now, if you are requesting for anything, then you are pretty much looking for everything. And when the minute you start speaking like that mentality of wanting everything, then employers already have that perception of you that you do not know what you want. You do not know where you fit in the whole engineering industry. And that is one of the biggest contributor of this frustration when job hunting. Now, when you're looking for everything and you're talking to everyone and looking for anything, then you start having a situation where even your CV or your curriculum vitae is very generic. And when, again, this having a generic CV again also feeds into this this perception that employers may have of you, to say, but you're not clear what you want. So we are looking for a mechanical engineer, but you are applying for this position and you are a civil engineer. How does your qualification as a civil fit in this position of a mechanical engineer? So that misalignment, and then also you've got a generic CV that is design focused, but you are applying for construction or project management roles. Again, misalignment. So you're not speaking with the employer, and these generic CVs and you just wanting Noma Yini is causing this frustration and is one of the biggest mistakes. So now you end up applying for everything. You're not able to communicate your value properly. So what are you bringing to the table? So you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, but I'm a graduate, I just want to train. Yeah, but even when you're a graduate and you just want training and you want to get experience, remember that businesses are not in the business of training. They're not in the business of giving you experience, right? So a business or a company or an organization is in the business of making money, and they make money through the use of resources, which is financial resources, assets, and human resources, which is you. So now, if you are Noma Yini and you just want anything, then they now you giving the employer the job to think about where you fit in the bigger picture and how you are going to add value, right? So if you're generic, you're not sure what you need to, what you want everything and anything, then you're not going to be able to communicate your value. So if you can't communicate your value, then you cannot communicate your skills, right? So employers, yes, you are a graduate, you're going to be in a graduate program, but I can tell you now that in a graduate program, you are going to be doing tasks or activities that contribute to the bigger picture of the organization. So if you're a civil engineer going into a consulting engineering company that does road design, you're not just going to sit there and then you're going to be trained on road design, but you need to be able to have the skills, like for instance, using the relevant software like Autodesk Civil 3D, or if you're a mechanical engineer, making use of Autodesk Inventor and all of that stuff. So if you are applying for a project management role or internships, but your CV is generic on design, saying, well, you did civil engineering and you're doing these designs and all of that, but you're not speaking to what the position is doing, right? So, and this is the Noma Yini. You just want everything and anything. Big mistake. Now, the other thing that your CV is sort of communicating is your aspirations, right? So what are your aspirations? Basically, where are you trying to take your career? Yes, you might be a graduate, but where are you going with this, you being a graduate? Where do you want to fit in the engineering industry? Yes, in the beginning, you might not know your exact fit, but this is where mentors, role models come in, right? So if you've got a civil engineering senior who is doing like great work, and you're seeing that they're flourishing and you like what they're doing, that's a role model. So now the way that you now position yourself is looking at that role model to say, okay, my aspiration is to be just like Godfrey, because he's working for this multinational, multi-billion-dollar company, and he's the head of the engineering, and he's the head of civil engineering, and this is how he started. So that's your aspiration. So now if your aspiration is also not clear, right, then even now you are giving the employer the work to actually make the decision for you on where you fit in and where you are trying to go with your career. And all of these problems, they actually start at your undergrad. And my colleague already, accurately pointed out that if you want to do job hunting properly, you want to network properly, it all starts at your undergraduate, right? So in your undergraduate, the topics that you choose for your projects, your design projects, what topics are you choosing? always changing the topics? Are you always random on your topics, and you just, you know, taking the most easiest topic just so that you can finish the assignment? So all of that starts at your undergraduate. In your undergraduate, are you involved with the youth structures of CESA, SAICI, and all of that? So are you involved in, you know, when you're trying to find VEC work, right? Are you sitting in your own little corner, or are you engaging the student chapters and then engaging the mother bodies so that you can find opportunities and actually what to call position yourself so that you can be considered for those opportunities? So all of this job hunting, it starts at your undergrad, but I will take it that a number of my colleagues today, you are either, you know, already graduated, so that boat has sailed. I'm sorry, but there's still a chance for you to, you know, to recover. And one way of you recovering is you being here today. And I congratulate everyone who is here today and taking their what to call their career very seriously. So number one problem of job hunting is this Noma Yini mentality, right? And the number one problem when it comes to building a professional network is that you are always networking. And when you are networking, you are always thinking about what is it in for me, right? So my number one rule of networking is it's not about what the next person can do for you. It's about what you can do for the next person and the greater community at large. So what does that mean? So what that means is if this CESA what you call event was in person and you are seeing the different people, then what it means is when you go and interact with a person, you're interacting with the person to try to figure out or understand what is their pain point. And from their pain point, then you try to then you know, alleviate that pain point, right? When you are networking, you network with the view of communicating your value and communicating your skills, right? When you introduce yourself, I'm a civil engineering graduate who aspires or wants to specialize in road design, and these are the type of things that I've done to align to that. So when you're speaking with that person, already they can see the value that you are bringing to the table, right? So when they say, oh, okay, you're doing, you want to specialize in road design and you've been doing what you call civil 3D models. Yeah, so what sort of, how do you deal with this type of problem? How do you install civil 3D? How do you, you know, go past this challenge or that challenge? And then that's where the conversation starts, right? So, and that's where the conversation matures. But if you are going there and the first thing, because I remember when we're doing a number of these the engineering days at universities, 90% of the students, when they get there, the first question is, hi, what sort of opportunities does your company have? Or what sort of jobs does your company have? Do you have VEC work opportunities? And the big thing that I told all of the students who ask that type of question is that the way you are approaching it and the way you're communicating what you are looking for is actually, you should actually need to be doing it in reverse. So you are going to a Zutari who's exhibiting in your career day. When you approach Zutari, the first thing, hi, who are you? Right? Then the person then introduce themselves and says they are a what you call the engineer at Zutari. So the conversation is now different. When a person says, I'm from the HR department, the conversation is different, right? So how you then network with the engineer, then the conversation with the engineer is, look, I'm doing my third year, and as I'm doing my third year, I've got a specific focus in structures, for example, in structures, multi-story, and I've been doing these type of projects. You know, what sort of skills are you does Zutari look for when it comes to structural engineering, right? Then the engineer starts unpacking that. Oh, okay. So if I were to want to come do like an internship or something like that, who would be the best person to speak with? No, the best approach would be to do ABCD, right? So that's networking 101. So you don't necessarily come in and saying you want to take, but you want to come in there and give some value. And then from that value, you will see the conversation unpacking. So it is not about what the other person can give you, but it's about what you can give the other person. All right. Is that a hand there? Or can I continue?
Good luck. I just wanted to say we're running a bit out of time.
Yeah.
Don't mean to cut your presentation short, but maybe just hype it up a bit. Then you'll emphasize more on these when we do the Q&A, if possible.
No problems. Sharp. Right. So with all the problems that the problems that we've presented, now what are the solutions? Now, the quick solution is that you need to have a framework. So this is a framework that we've been sort of playing around with, and we've been always changing around and so forth. And when you look at the framework, there's about 8 steps to it, right? And the first thing is deciding on a niche, deciding on what is it that you want to specialize in, where are you trying to take your career. And in this example, we'll say, well, I want to be a road and highway design specialist, right? So the minute you do that, when you write your CV, there on top, your title then becomes roads and design engineer, right? So then your CV starts being more specific, starts being clearer on the direction in terms of the role that you're trying to go to. The next thing is your qualifications, right? So if you are going to be moving into roads and highway design, yes, the baseline or gatekeeping qualification will be your bachelor's in civils, but there's masters what you call degrees that you can do that can what you call demonstrate that you are very serious about this niche that you are taking up. Next up will be your certifications. So now when you are having the conversations during the job hunting, during the interviews, your aspiration is, I want to be a roads specialist. I've got a bachelor's in civils. I'm busy studying my master's in road design, and I'm registered as a candidate engineer with EXA with aspirations to register as a PR eng in the next 5 years. So can you see that now the conversation and the perception that the employer has towards you starts being different, because now it's very clear what are you looking for, what do you want. You are communicating your aspirations. Next thing, you're communicating your value, right? You need to be talking to the engineers at all these companies that are doing road design to say, what sort of softwares are you using, right? And then from those softwares, as a student or even as a graduate sitting at home, take advantage of student licenses, right? Find out what the software is, take advantage of the student licenses, take advantage of freelancing opportunities. So if you go to platforms like Fiverr, you go to Upworks, there's always the what you call people looking for someone to update a drawing for me, or do a hydraulic model for me, or do a road design for a community for me, right? So you go through those marketplaces, you now go and sharpen your skills, sharpen your skills of using those specific software. Then when it comes to experience, so one of the biggest challenges with graduates is that, yeah, but then what must I write on my CV? I don't have the experience. Okay, so did you know that if you do a research topic, that is experience, because you went through the stages of the design process and you came to a conclusion? That is work experience, because even at work, they're going to tell you to go design a bridge. When you design a bridge, you're going to go through the similar steps as a research topic. So in your experience, you write there the different research topics that you have done. You can do mock projects. Mock projects, basically, you take an existing design and with known output parameters, and then you go and then find out what were the input parameters and you do the design. Once you've done that design, you can literally take that and put it in your CV. It's your experience, right? Even though it was not a real life project, it was your experience. During VEC work, during internships, stop waiting for people to give you work. So you've got VEC work, then you are sitting there, or you are in an internship, you are sitting there, and then they are telling, and then you are saying, I'm not being given work. When we are there, find the work, because you know you want to be a road specialist. And as a road specialist, you must design ABCD. You find out what projects are active. Can I do that design? Even if there's another designer, it's fine. Can I do it? And then we'll compare at the end, all right? Then there's the courses. So courses, it's straightforward. The big thing with courses is that you want to try to do courses that that address a skill deficiency that you might have. So if you're not good with Civil 3D, go do a Civil 3D course, put it in your what you call in your CV. And then lastly is the companies. Well, when it comes to companies, so remember now you are very specific on your niche, your qualifications, and where you're trying to go to your what you call with your career. One of the things that I guess is controversial and some people might disagree with me. My advice is don't apply to all companies. Go and shortlist the 20 best companies that do road design and go apply on to those companies only. That's the confidence that you need to have with your niche. Because now you are going to apply as a civil engineer at Sasol. At Sasol, you are going to be busy doing plinths there and structural root cause analysis and all that stuff, which is away from what you want to be doing, right? So go shortlist 20 companies and only apply to those 20 companies. With that said, I'm going to end my presentation there for the interest of time, and then we'll engage in the Q&A to sort of unpack some of these things. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Nkululeko, for that wonderful presentation. Yeah, I think everyone got it. Find your niche. If you're gonna be a shovel, be a shovel. See yourself as a shovel. Take courses for being a shovel and be the best shovel in the game.
Can I say one last point, please, before I go?
Okay.
The last point, the one that is on there, document and publish your journey. All right. So the attention is the new currency. So if there's 10 of you with the same qualification, with the same experience, with the same everything, the one that will get the opportunity is the one who can grab the attention the most, right? So document your and publish your journey, and you can do that in various ways, social media, have a small website or whatever the case may be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nkululeko. If you're joining just now, please keep attentive on the group chat, post your questions there, and everyone is interacting in the group chat. Now we're gonna go to our next speaker, who's going to tell us more about how you can navigate through your own path throughout this professional journey. And our speaker is Jabulile, and I'll give you a brief bio of Jabulile. So Jabulile serves as a chairperson of the Johnson Wagner Board of Directors, where she leads a dynamic team of engineers in the waste engineering department, providing services to waste management facilities across South Africa and other African regions. With over 18 years of experience, more than 14 years as a registered professional engineer, she has a deep passion for designing for environmental protection. Her expertise lies particularly in the design and construction of waste management facilities, barrier and capping systems, that the application of geosynthetics materials. I'm going to give it over to you, Jabulile.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction. I just want to say thanks to Nkululeko for his talk. I think we could have just made it a Nkululeko talk today because he's actually covered so much of everything. So thank you very much. That was quite detailed and thorough. So I'm trusting that you can all hear me clearly and you can see my slides and you can see it in presentation mode. Please confirm it, Dumeling.
Yes, I can see and I can hear you clearly.
All right, thank you very much.
Maybe leadership,
Okay.
just your video
Should I just switch off the video?
on. Is it on? Okay.
All right. No, thank you very much. I think, yeah, so good. Itumeleng has done an introduction of who I am and the roles that I serve in. So I'm really fortunate to be able to do all of this work, to still do quite a lot of professional work. So I would say still about 75% of my time is spent on technical work. Although I don't get into the nitty-gritty anymore and I review more, but I still get out to site and see implementation. You can see where maybe a week goes by and I haven't been on site, I get a bit grumpy because I'm an engineer and that's what I've been trained to do. That's what I'm passionate about. Even though management comes, of course, when you run a business, there's management responsibilities, but ultimately what really makes me alive is being an engineer and working on design and going out to site and seeing implementation. I just want to, it would be really amiss of me to do this presentation and not give some introduction of Jones and Wagner. So just only one slide just to tell you about Jones and Wagner, the company that I work for. So Jones and Wagner offered me a bursary while I was a student at the University of Pretoria. And ever since then, I've been part of the family. I think after 18 years employed here, and if you add, I guess, the student life is now over 20 years, I'm part of the furniture, but it has been a great journey and I have not needed to look elsewhere. So Jones & Wagner is an engineering and environmental consulting company established in 66. So we are 58 years old, approaching our 60th anniversary very soon. We are fully employee owned. So all the shareholders of Jones & Wagner work at Jones & Wagner, which makes running the company and the business very easy. Our staff complement is over 220, 80% of which is technical, 30% of those professionally registered. So this is with EXA, SACNAS, PIPASA, so all our engineering geologists, our environmental scientists and managers, also part of that registration or registered component. We have offices here in South Africa, Rivonia. I'm in the Rivonia campus. We also have offices in Centurion, in Ghana, as well as in the UK. And like I said, we provide consulting services for various industries. You can see on the left there, in terms of our product offering or services, ranging from geotechnical engineering, tailings, waste engineering. That's the department that I head up. Engineering hydro in terms of the environmental space, environmental sciences, quite a lot of groundwater type of work, environmental management, environmental studies, EIAs, work in the energy sector. So basically all approvals needed for engineering work. And that also gives us quite a bit of an advantage that the engineers and environmental scientists can work so closely together. And then, of course, on the infrastructure side, we've got our mining infrastructure department, mine closure, structural engineering, pump station and pipelines. So all of that is in terms of infrastructure. And then also we do a lot of construction management. So that is very briefly what our company does. And in the end, I will give you some details in terms of applying for work at Jones & Wagner. So it's important to tell our stories, and I've graphed it here because I think people learn a lot from our stories and not just from theory. And also just to understand that it's all a different journey, and the journey is not the same for everyone. So someone else may say, well, my journey is going to be, I'm going to qualify and I'm going to register as a professional in 4 years because that's what the EXA says. And then by year number 6, I'm going to be a manager. It doesn't always turn out that way. It is a journey that takes longer for others and shorter for others. And it's important that we all understand and accept our different journeys. So this is basically my journey, and you can see it is sort of coming to a bit of a plateau. But even then, I'm quite content and very happy, and see myself still adding quite a lot of value to Jones and Wagner. So just to tell a bit about my story. If I had to go back now, young engineer or student who had just written the final exam at UP in November and gonna start work at Jones and Wagner, what I didn't put on the slide is that I would first of all tell that girl not to start on 1 December, but rather 1 January the following year, because I started in December and then had to take what is it, compulsory leave for the break in December. So I came back in January with quite a lot of negative leave. But anyway, that's something else, a joke, I guess, for the future. Don't start in December, start in January. So, but in terms of the points that I've put here, I think you need to realize that you don't know what you don't know. And this is something that a professor of mine had said, giving advice on how I should arrive at the workplace. One of the things we're seeing with a lot of young people these days is that they're arriving and they think they know everything. And I just want to remind you all that your 4-year degree is teaching you how to think and how to solve problems. But there's a whole lot more in terms of practical application that is going to need to go into your work. So you might be solving a lot of defined problems at varsity, but when you arrive at the workplace, you need to define the problems and solve them. So it's important to know that there's a lot that you don't know and be okay with that, because that's the basis of starting your journey. You need to be and to remain curious. You need to know to ask questions about, so how does that work? How does one get to go to a site? How is the company run? What does management do? How do we get work? How do we advertise? You need to be curious in your work and show interest, because that could open doors for you in terms of the energy that you bring to the workplace. Don't miss an opportunity to get involved. So, you know, there's people who would be maybe asked to maybe stay for an interesting talk, and this talk is now after work hours. And they'd be like, oh, well, work-life balance, I can't be here after 5, which actually makes you miss out on interaction and team building and learning something new. So don't miss an opportunity. Always put your hand up. If you're invited somewhere or to something, or to serve in a particular matter, always put your hand up. That's how you're going to learn and make relationships. Also, you need to understand, as I was saying earlier, that everyone's path is unique. It's not a one-size-fits-all and this magic formula that's going to somehow make all our progression work. You know, we're not all going to register in 4 years like the EXA says. Janko will touch on that. One person might just be lucky and get onto a project that will allow them to meet all the 11 outcomes, you know, where they're starting something from feasibility and moving all the way to design and tender and construction supervision and closeout. But it doesn't always happen like that. And you need to understand that. And I just want to advise that you build technical knowledge. I saw a question come up in the chat and someone was asking about how do I get into a management role? It will come. I think it's important to build technical knowledge. If you're a traffic engineer, learn about it, do your postgrad in it, do more research, just build that technical knowledge so that one day when you're a manager or managing a team, you have a basis of what you're managing, if I can say. It's really sad to see some people go into management and have to run projects, and they have very little technical knowledge. So don't rush, take your time, build the knowledge, the management responsibility will come. So when I thought about this talk today, I just decided to use the book, The 4 Agreements, just to talk through those in terms of how you can own your professional journey. I know there's a 5th agreement now. The 5th agreement is be skeptical, but learn to listen. But that is very similar to not making assumptions. So if you're interested, you can get the book. It's really a short, thin book, but there is so much wisdom in it. So I will take you through these 4 agreements in terms of owning your professional journey. So number 1 is be impeccable with your word. So this doesn't mean you need to talk nicely, use big words. It's about telling the truth. It's about understanding that through your word, you manifest everything. The way the writer puts it in the book as well, he says that by being impeccable with your word, you don't sin against yourself by the words that you say. So how I've put it here, you must always tell the truth. Tell the truth to yourself, number 1, it's important, and to others. The worst thing is to be caught up in a lie and then be frustrated and be in the self-guilt of, but why did I lie? Why did I say I can do that? And now it's delivery time and it's the day before and you haven't figured it out and it's too late to say, you know what, I actually lied. I can't do this. I need help. So just always tell the truth. It will save you. Slow down. If your mouth wants to act faster than your thoughts or your brain, you know that there's a problem. Once the words come out, you cannot reverse them. So just always slow down and listen more. And if needs be, don't give an answer immediately. Rather wait and say, I'll get back to you on that. Sorry, just excuse me. I also just want to say, being impeccable with your word applies to both your spoken word and your written word. So there's things that we sometimes put out there, whether it is on LinkedIn, whether it is on email, Facebook, and it's out there forever. The internet never forgets. And one day you might be searching for work, or you might be called up to be a minister of this or that, and someone just brings out a screenshot of this person once said this. Is this the leader that we want? So just be very careful, even with your written word. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. I know it's a very difficult one, but it is important for us to realize that, you know, people have their own troubles, they have their own behaviors, and their words at that point may not be a reflection of their character. And we need to realize that sometimes we need to deal with the problem, and the problem might be that the report is late. The problem is not that you are always late. So learn how to see what the real problem is, and that not everything is an attack on you as a person or your character. Learn how to take constructive criticism. So if you've written a report and it comes back and there's a lot of track changes and it's read, It shouldn't be a thing of, oh, I can't do this. I'm bad at writing. I'm never going to get better. Because it always starts like that. And then with time, as you address and learn from the changes and the comments made, you actually get better. I've already said, understand that what others do is not always because of you. There's just so much going on in everyone's life that you may never know. You know, you may not know that they arrived at work and they got news that they've been diagnosed with a life-threatening disease. You just never know what is happening, and not everything they do is because of you. Avoid victim mentality. Just take responsibility of things that are your responsibility. So don't be, oh no, no one wants to help me. Seek the help from others. So just avoid being a victim, because then nothing will get delegated to you. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. So if something is unclear to you, you need to ask, and you need to ask again, and you need to keep asking until you're sure. So as an example, let's say your manager sends out a list and says these juniors, I would like to go for training, and you're not on that list. So the victim mentality or the assumption maker will be, yeah, no, they don't care about me. They don't care about my development here. But if you went and asked, why have I been excluded? You could find, number one, maybe it was an honest mistake. They could be like, oh crap, I forgot, and add you. Or there could be a reason. No, I'm eyeing something else for you the following month. So that's why I'm sending these ones this month. I only have limited budget for now, but I've got something planned for you. So just ask the question and don't assume that no one cares about you or your development. Don't assume that someone is working in the background, crafting this plan, that CESA is going to do this, and then next month CESA is going to do that. Make goals for yourself, run them past your supervisor, your manager, your mentor. Communicate and clarify your goals and plans so that you can also get help on whether they are realistic or not, and get advice on how to navigate them. I've already spoken about avoiding victim mentality in the previous because it repeats. The victim mentality will make you make assumptions of thinking that no one cares about you. And then the fourth and final one is always do your best. If you always do your best, and even though maybe your best might not be good enough, but you will be at peace because you gave your best and the outcome was not desirable. It's better than, you knew you could do better. You knew you could spend more time on something. You knew you could have double-checked your work before you submitted it, but you didn't. And now you get this negative results and you're feeling guilty because you knew it was, not the maximum effort you could have put at that stage. So always do your best. It will make you feel better. And yes, your best will be different. Your best sometimes can be affected by your health. You might have low energy moments, but if you give your best for that moment, that is good enough. Your best might be affected by the environment. You could be at work and there's construction happening, just like this construction here at our work right now. And there's drilling and noise and that, and it is just distracting you. But at that moment, you just try to do what you can. So understand that your best may be different. And your journey is to be enjoyed and not just endured. So just keep that in mind. And if you take all of these agreements all together and apply them, it will not just change your professional life, but your personal life too. And it will help you understand and enjoy your journey. So in summary, there it is. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. So that's really the end, but I thought I'd just quickly give some tips on crafting a good CV. I do have 2 minutes left. I was allocated 15. To those applying for work, please make sure that your CV is neat, is easy to read, that it is in a clear and organized format. Some people like these gimmicks of graphics and photos and things, and it's just you receive it and it's just so all over the place and you can't even find basic information. So just make sure that it's easy to read. So double check your CV. Things like spelling mistakes on something that you're trying to use to sell yourself is showing a lack of care. Make sure that you include all the requirements for that particular job or role that you're applying for. If you send a CV and we've asked you to include your driver's license and you haven't, and we've received 600 applications, yours is not complete. We're not going to be chasing you now to add the requirements. So make sure that you have a checklist of everything you need and make sure you include it. A well-written motivation letter would help you and make it relevant. So research the company and say there, I think I can add value at Jones & Wagner because I see that you guys do this and I am good at this. So make it that direct and relevant. So it's not just, we don't feel like it's the same letter that you've sent the 5 other consultants that you're applying at. Arrive on time for an interview. I can't stress this enough. Arrive on time and also have a few questions prepared because you will be asked, do you have any questions for us? And the worst thing is to say no. So just prepare a few questions and hopefully not all of them are answered as you go through the interview. But if at the end you feel like everything was answered, maybe ask something personal about the people interviewing you. It could be, so how long did it take you to register? What do you like about working here? Just always have a question. In terms of Jones & Wagner, our vacancies, you can visit our website, www.jaws. The JAWS I get asked a lot. It stands for Jones & Wagner Server. So it's not about the shark jaws. It's just an abbreviation of our name, basically. And we also currently have bursaries open. This is bursaries for civil engineers, for engineering geologists, for environmental scientists. So those are the bursaries that we currently have open. We also have a trust, that's the bottom of the page, and the Education Trust is open to Black females, and that one covers all other studies. So mechanical engineering, if you want to do physiotherapy, if you want to do HR, so that one is not limited. And you can send an email to Education Finder JAWS to request more information, a form that you can use to apply. So that's I'm done. And I just want to say that just believe in yourself and try every day to remove the T from can't until you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lila, for that wonderful presentation. I think, we took a lot from this one and also another book that we must buy to add to our bookshelf. I think that's an interesting book. Looking forward to getting it, honestly, at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you. For everyone who just joined now, also just continue sending your questions in the group chat. We're all gonna get to them after our last speaker does a presentation. I've noted all the questions down, so don't think if you're putting your question there, it's not gonna be noted. It will be noted. I've noted them down. Then lastly, our last speaker is Yanko, and she'll be doing a presentation on the journey to professional registration with CESA. A brief bio about Yanko. So Yanko is a dedicated and accomplished professional engineer registered with EXA since March 2021, with over 21 years of extensive experience in the private sector. Currently, she's serving as a regional project manager for the Gauteng Freeway Management System at Telcon Group. They oversee projects aimed at enhancing transportation infrastructure. Her academic background includes pursuing a master's in engineering in transport studies at UCT and she obtained a Bachelor of Science with honors in civil engineering from WITS in 2011, providing a solid foundation for her career. She is actively involved in the industry, society, and serving as an intermediate past national chairperson of CESA YPF and mentoring at the CIC student chapters and mentoring at a girls' college as well. Her contributions have been recognized with accolades such as Women of Stature, Women in Engineering winner in 2022, and CIC Young Engineer finalist in 2021. I'm going to hand over the floor to Yanko. I'm
Thank
going
you
to mute
very
my
much,
mic.
Emily. Yeah, thank you very much. But a correction, I'm not as experienced as Sis Jablil. I only have 12 years of professional experience, not 21. I'm heading there. I'm right behind her. But thank you very much. Thank you very much for that amazing introduction and the opportunity to engage and just share some tips or just give some guidance in terms of professional registration, especially considering that the Engineering Council of South Africa is now making it mandatory that we register, and this is done in the hopes of safeguarding the profession for young future leaders like yourselves. So I won't go into my bio because that has already been gone into. So we're going to go on an engineering journey today in terms of professional registration. So I'll give a high-level overview in terms of who EXA is and what is it that they do and how they do what they do. Then I'll give an overview in terms of what are the requirements for candidacy registration as well as professional registration. And then I'll just talk you through some road to registration tips. And then I'll just give some pointers on how to ensure you get the relevant experience based on my professional development, and then just some parting shots to conclude the session for today. And ironically, Mrs. Jobs, when you're going through your presentation, it was like you looked at my one as well. So it just goes to show that a lot of the stuff that happens, there's a lot of synergy, or how you develop by surrounding yourself with the right type of people, you tend to develop more or less the same, or you pick up same traits. So starting with who is EXA. So EXA is a Section 22 institution, or according to Section 22 of the Constitution, which states that every citizen has a right to choose their trade, occupation, or profession freely, and practice of trade, occupation, or profession may be regulated by law. So based on this premise, the country chose to regulate the engineering profession, which then gave rise to the Engineering Professions Act of 2000, Act number 46. And based on the Engineering Professions Act, a juristic person was then established, and that juristic person became the Engineering Council of South Africa, which has a CEO who oversees everything and reports to the CBD, CBE, you'll see in the next slide. And there are various things that the Engineering Council looks at, and one of them is in terms of how they regulate the industry. And one of the ways or the tools that they use to regulate the industry is registration, which is what we'll focus on, but I'll give some other pointers in a slide further on. So like indicated, in terms of where the council fits in, so there are 6 built environment bodies. And like I said, with the Engineering Council, based on the EPA, you have the CEO, who is then held as the accounting officer of the council. They report to CBE. CBE then makes sure that the 6 councils as listed here do what they need to do and are regulated or monitored in a way. And then from there, they report to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. So the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure ministry is then the executive authority. So that's why you find with certain portfolios in government, they will call on industry to bring in professionals just to make sure that particular departments are doing what they need to do. So this just shows where the council fits in the bigger scheme of the built environment. And then how does the Engineering Council regulate the engineering profession? For those of you who don't know, the institutions we study at, the courses that we are given, EXA regulates or checks them and accredits them so that they're at the level that is competitive, but also makes us world-class engineers, not only in South Africa, but with our counterparts, whether it be in the African context or even internationally. So over and above what the council does is that they look at policy, they look at standards, they accredit, they register people, they regulate or they check professional conduct and they manage that. So case in point with the George catastrophe, when the council then issued a statement to say that this engineer has been suspended or whatever not, there are engineers, if they've brought the industry into disrepute, they get fined. So it's like just trying to make sure that we as engineers, we are held accountable to society and we bring about quality infrastructure that will not cause harm to society, but will instead build society. And another way that the council also regulates the profession is by making sure that we as professionals are continuously learning. Like Mrs. Jabulile said, you must always be open to learning. Just because you have made it to professional registration does not mean you know everything. Even at my big age right now, I'm still learning. And sometimes I'm learning from people as young as yourselves because of the changes in the industry. But for the purpose of today's talk, we'll focus on registration in particular. And in terms of registration, there are three categories, but the ones that we tend to focus on a lot, it's the candidate and the professional. The specified category, it's a bit of a specialist field, which I'm not really a professional in, so I don't want to delve into it, but there is an opportunity for people who have developed their skill sets in these particular spaces to also register, but obviously you'll have to go through certain processes for them to verify at the council if you are competent enough to register in that particular specified category. So in terms of registration, once you graduate, you'll see it in the next slide, you can register as a candidate engineer, engineering technologist, certified engineer, or engineering technician. I'll mainly focus on the engineer, engineering technologist, and engineering technician, because that's where most of us are at right now. And then once you've obtained the relevant experience, you can then submit an application to be assessed and be deemed competent as either a professional engineer, engineering technologist, or engineering technician. So obviously, if you're a candidate engineer, you register to be a professional engineer and so forth. So in terms of how the engineering journey starts, right now you're studying at a tertiary institution. The council has accredited the program you are in. Once you graduate, that's the first stage, you can then register as a candidate. So if you have not registered as a candidate when you graduate, it's not a train smash. You can still register to be a professional after you've gained the amount of experience, just that the fee you pay when you want to register professionally differs slightly versus someone who's been paying their candidacy registration fees on an annual basis. So yeah, like I said, the first stage is that you obtain a qualification, you become registered as a candidate engineer, engineering technician, or engineering technologist. You work for about 3 years or more, as Mrs. Jabulile also indicated. The council feels that within 3 years, you could have gained the equivalent experience. So if you feel you've taken all the 11 outcomes, which we'll go into and can demonstrate responsibility at the relevant degree of responsibility, then you can register. But personally, I feel 5 years is a good minimum because it's not only about the experience, it's also about developing the confidence to articulate what it is that you did and to be held accountable should something go wrong, because that is what professional registration means, is that I'm saying I'm going to give due diligence to the work that I put out there, and should something go wrong, I can be held to account. I will stand and defend whatever happened, and if I'm found guilty, I can be disciplined accordingly. So yeah, like I said, you then get the relevant training and experience, which can take about 3 to 5 years or more, depending on the type of projects you're involved in and the confidence you develop. After that, you then make a submission to register as a professional engineer. So that's when the professional registration begins. Once you've gone through the process and the council or the interviewing panel deems you competent, you then become either a PR Eng, PR Tech Eng, or PR Techni. And from that point as well, it doesn't stop. It's a lifelong learning process as you are practicing. Here, you make sure that you observe the relevant code of conduct, you maintain your continuous professional development every 5 years, and you pay your fees, just to make sure that you're doing what needs to be done. And yeah, like I said, every 5 years, you need to renew your PR status. So it's not a once-off thing. Once you get it, like my colleagues indicated, they've been registered for about 2 decades. It's not that once they got it, whenever they got it, that was it. They are continuously learning and improving themselves to get to that level. And every 5 years, they need to show that they are still relevant to what's happening in the area of specialization. So what is required to register as a candidate in the 3 categories? The main thing that's required is just your academic certificate. So once you graduate with that degree, you can register as a candidate engineer, technologist, or technician. If you have an international qualification, you can still get registered. However, you'll need to go through a qualification accreditation process where they will then determine based on the various accords. So there's the Washington Accord, the Dublin Accord, and I forgot the third one, but it's based on, where the countries where they were signed. And all this does, it's just an agreement between the various parties that says, if I have a qualification from South Africa, it's of the same or similar standard as, let's say, qualification in the UK. So I don't need to go through that entire qualification process to be registered as a professional, whatever it is that they call it in their country. So like ICE, for example, in the UK. So there is means to determine what level your international accreditation is on. So meaning that if you have engineering degree, let's say from Malawi, I'm from Malawi by birth, you might find that when they do the accreditation, they deem my engineering degree for Malawi to be at the level of a BTech here. So meaning I can register as a professional technician and not a professional engineer, but there's an opportunity to actually fit into somewhere in the gap of where the different categories. Then in terms of professional registration, it's, as indicated, it's your qualification. So the PR Eng, PR Tech Eng, and the PR Techni, they're based on the qualification you get. So PR Eng, you'll see later on, it's based on a degree. PR Technologist, it's a BTech, and then PR Techni, it's a in-depth. But now the council is also looking at ways of, if you get a BTech, for example, and then you do a master's, there is an opportunity to register as a professional engineer, but obviously they have to check what type of master's did you do? Did it demonstrate the complexity of an engineer and so forth? And then the other requirement to register as a professional is that you need to develop the right competencies or skill sets to be deemed competent to register as a professional. So once you get your qualification, you get into industry, you gain the experience, then you can submit to be deemed competent in whatever area of specialization you choose to go into. Like the 2 speakers have alluded to, you need to be intentional about what is it that I want to develop myself in. It's not a normal yami type of experience. At some point, there was a debate about generalist or specialist, but at some point you need to be a specialist in something and have a general idea about other things in your field or how they affect your field of specialization. So like I indicated, different qualifications afford you registration in a particular category. So like for B-Eng, to be registered as a PR Eng, you need to have obtained a qualification from a university. So that would be a BSc, a B-Eng. The others are the engineering Afrikaans equivalent, or a master's. But like I said, the master's will have to be reviewed just to see that was it at the right level for you to be registered in this particular category if your undergrad qualification was not in the professional registration category that you need to look into. So these are just guidelines in terms of how long the education can take. Some of us take longer than the 4 or 5 years. Case in point, myself, I took about 8 years to complete a 4-year degree. But at the end of the day, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, you know. And in terms of the differentiating factor between a PR eng, a PR tech eng, and a PR technie, it's the type of problems that you solve, so that level descriptor. So as a PR eng, you need to be solving complex engineering problems. As a PR tech eng, you need to be solving broadly defined engineering problems. And as a PR technie, you need to be solving well-defined engineering problems. And what this basically means is that, for example, with the PR technie, the solution might just be one. If it's this, you do that. So that's straightforward. But with the PR tech eng, you cannot just have one solution. You must have at least 2 to 3 solutions. You look at each and then you come up with the best solution. With an engineer, it's even worse. You might have up to 6 solutions, or it's something that has not been developed and now you are trying to solve a problem for, you're trying to find a solution for a problem that has no background, no context, whatever not. So you are setting the tone of how this thing will then develop. Think of like Einstein, you know, he solved a problem of relativity that didn't exist initially. So that would be solving complex engineering problems. I'm kind of rushing through this because when you talk professional registration, there's quite a lot, but information is out there. I'll explain later where it is. So one of the key things that I find a lot of candidates don't understand, and this is even candidates who've been working, is because we're not reading the forms, is that there's a difference between the outcomes and the degree of responsibility. So unfortunately, it gets confusing because the outcomes are labeled A to E, and the degree of responsibility is also labeled A to E. But in terms of what they mean, that's where one needs to read the forms to be able to understand what it is that they trying to develop as, so that they can show that competence when the time to register comes, and they make sure that they involve themselves in the relevant type of projects to make sure that they can tick those boxes or demonstrate that competence to eventually be registered as a professional when the time comes. So there are basically 11 outcomes, which have been conveniently grouped into 5 categories, that being the group A problems, which are engineering, which is about engineering problem solving. So with each group, there's a further subgroup. So with group A, if you look at it, it's engineering problem solving. So it's about how you define or investigate and analyze. By level descriptor, if you remember with the previous slide, I said the type of problems you solve differ depending on the qualification you have. So for myself as an engineer, it's defining, investigating, and analyzing complex engineering problems. With a technologist, it's broadly defined. Technician, simply defined, and that's what it means by level descriptor. So what group A outcomes look at, it's just about identifying the root cause that is having an impact on a problem. So an example I like to give is that for myself, I worked on a project where we were getting a lot of sinkholes. So you get sinkholes in Ekurhuleni, which is a dolomitic area. You get sinkholes in Carltonville, which is on the other side of our country. So how you solve for them is not the same. So determining what is causing those sinkholes and then solving for it, that's how you demonstrate engineering problem solving at the level descriptor that you need to be at. So I cannot just say that I'm going to come in and fill a hole. If I don't figure out the fact that clay and water don't mix because you get heaving and shrinkage, that's what is causing my sinkholes, for example, then I'm not solving problems at the level that I need to be. So it's about also doing a process of elimination to get to the best suitable solution. Group B outcomes, it's managing your engineering activities. And then this is just about management, communication, dealing with different entities, and just bringing across that message. It's a known fact that engineers are notoriously poor communicators. We know the solution, but sometimes it's not easy to articulate it. So that's what Group B outcomes look at. Then Group C outcomes are, it's looking at the impact of engineering activities on the environment and society. So this is you being able to identify a risk, putting in mitigation measures, and ensuring that you're adhering to all regulations. Then Group D, it's about acting ethically, exercising judgment, and taking responsibility. Like I indicated earlier, as a professional, what I'm saying is that I'm always going to make sure that I put out work that will not compromise society. But should it compromise society, I can be brought to task and I can be disciplined accordingly. Because when people die, families out there are looking for answers and they want someone to be punished. So this is where it comes in, that for us to make sure that we always give our best and always work to the right standards and to the right quality, we need to be held accountable, we need to exercise judgment, and we need to act ethically. I cannot be accepting brown envelopes to turn a blind eye without thinking of the consequences in future. You know, and if I do that, I need to be held accountable if consequences become dire. You know, it's like a surgeon, you know, there's this thing they say that when a doctor operates and something goes wrong, it's one life that's lost. Not that it's a good thing, but when an engineer designs or puts a design out, then something goes wrong, it's many lives that are lost. Case in point, the Greyston scaffolding collapse. It was a scaffolding, or it was a structural issue that resulted in the death of about 4 to 5 people at one time. So our catastrophes result in deaths of multitudes. Hence, it's important that we as engineers always act ethically and think about what it is that we are doing and the impact it's going to have in the bigger scheme of things. Then outcome E, it's before you become a registered professional, while you're still a candidate, it's referred to as initial professional development because you are initially developing your skill sets. So once you register, then it becomes CPD because you are continuously learning and developing yourself professionally. And then this is just courses you take, whether, like Mrs. Jabulile said, when trainings happen, they are there to help elevate you to the next level. It's on the job courses. It's these Friday technical sessions you could be doing at work. It's attending webinars like this to upskill yourself. It's post-grad studies, like one of our colleagues indicated that doing post-grad studies is also quite good because it helps you stay abreast of what's happening in the industry. Then in terms of degree of responsibility, like I said, the problem is that outcomes and degrees of responsibilities are labeled the same. So sometimes it gets a bit confusing, but if you read the forms, then it becomes clear what is it that you're looking at. By degree of responsibility is basically you just showing that I'm starting off as a baby, I'm dependent solely on my supervisor to help me, but slowly but surely I begin to crawl, then I start to walk, then I start to run. So when you're a baby, it's just you being exposed. You are just seeing what's happening, taking no responsibility. Then you slowly develop and start taking on some responsibilities. You start contributing, you start giving your 2 cents worth. Well, I give 2 million rands worth of opinions and so forth until you start performing where the council knows that you are not fully accountable, but you are making the decisions. And before I'm registered, if I'm working with a person like Mrs. Jabulile, she just does a high level overview, but by her training me, she's confident enough to know that I've done the due diligence to the work. So she has her own few checkpoints. And once she knows that those things are done, she knows that whatever work I'm taking out, it's to the right standard and I'm not compromising her registration in any way. So that's what you ultimately want to show. You want to show that you are taking decisions, you are making decisions, you are coming up with solutions to problems that you're encountering on site for the prevailing conditions that you're coming across. So that's when you are now ready to submit and be interviewed, just to assess that you really did the work, you are competent, you understand what's happening, you understand how your work impacts society and how your work fits into other disciplines that you might be working with. So in terms of some tips towards your registration development, one of the biggest things I learned, or one of the best lessons I learned, is that you must always jot things down. So even till today, I actually still always have a book. So here's my book. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a book. And that was one of the things my first CEO told me, that whenever I call you, always come with a pen and paper, because you never know what instruction she's going to give you. So you must be able to write it down. But it's also good to just have a book where you jot things down in terms of what projects are you involved in? What year was it? What were you doing? If there was something interesting you learned on that particular project, jot it down. Whatever trainings you did, jot them down. Where were they? Who was offering it? Did you get CPD points? What was the code and so forth? And the reason why this is important, I bet some of you now, if I was to ask you, what did you do in your first year, in your final year? Some of you might not even remember some of the smallest things, but you might find that small thing is what will actually help you answer 1 or 2 of the outcomes. So this helps when you start writing up your submission to see what is relevant, what is not relevant, how can I put it together to demonstrate competence to the people who will be interviewing me. Photographic evidence, take as many pictures, whether it's of yourself, what you're doing on site, you never know when you'll need them. So rather have these things and not need them than to need them and not have them. Any reports, presentation, drawings you prepared or you are in charge of checking, keep records of those. Not to put it in a bad way, sometimes when we leave certain companies, people take it personal, and you find that when you're requiring certain information, either you struggle to get it or people are not forthcoming with it. But also some of it just helps that when you are going to write up, at least you have that information with you. But don't take intellectual property of the company, colleagues. When I say keep reports, presentations, and drawings, sometimes it's just for you to see how you progressed in terms of how you are writing initially and how you are writing now as you develop, because then you're not starting everything from scratch, but you're also seeing your own progression as you move along. And you can use it when it's time to demonstrate that competence. And when you attend courses, any certificates you get, keep them so that you can use them as part of your portfolio of evidence when you're submitting for registration. Another key tip towards road to registration, it's relationships. Relationships are very important. The first speaker spoke about how you sell yourself, or the first two speakers. This is your elevator tip. So this is very important, that no matter which level you are at, never burn your bridges. The one thing no one can ever take away from you is your reputation. So make sure if anyone is going to ruin that reputation, it's yourself. But don't work on ruining it, obviously, but know that that's the important thing. So even if you leave a company, don't now suddenly become rude or stop showing up for work or show up late and leave early. Continue as you were, because the grass might look greener on the other side, but you don't know what manure is making it green. So once you realize, maybe I'm going to leave and go to Joe's, and just realize, yo, I can't work with Sis Jabulile, I need to go back. Now I've burnt that bridge, I can't go back. I must now sit and struggle. I'm not saying Sis Jabulile is bad. Please don't get me wrong, colleagues. It's just that I'm speaking after her and we are colleagues. And then your professional relationships, or the relationships you develop, like the one colleague also said, that you start them at tertiary level, actually, not when you're starting to work. They can help you advance professionally. So these voluntary associations like CESA and CESA, where you can participate, get involved. That's how you get to interact or get in touch with professionals, so that when time comes for you to get into industry, you've already established those relationships. Have mentors and supervisors, both internally where you work or where you are studying, as well as externally. Sometimes having a supervisor or a mentor not in your field is actually good, because they don't think according to the blinkers of that particular discipline you are in. So they can just throw out something, and then you can both work or navigate how that can help you develop yourself or get the type of experience you need to eventually develop to be registered professionally. Also have relationship with your peers. Just because we are studying together does not mean, I know there's this saying that when you get to industry, I'm not here to make friends, but there are some people that can become your village, and they will keep pushing and inspiring you to be a better version of yourself. So you also need to develop and protect and grow certain peer relationships, and as well as growing relationships with professionals in other industries. I mean, the world is diverse. We are engineers, but we have to manage money. We have to manage, there's a lot of things we are managing. So don't think that you are just an engineer and you're only going to interact with engineers. You encounter legal issues. Have a lawyer in your corner just to bounce off some things, so that when you go argue or something with a contractor, you have that knowledge of what is happening in that particular space. Sorry, apologies. So how you can ensure you gain relevant experience. So this is based on, so apologies about that. This is based on my own experience, and it's just me sharing some of the tips out there. Itumeleng, I know too, I'm almost done. It's making sure that you read the EXA form. So these are available on the website. Read them, because some of the things your colleagues ask, it's already out there. Be open to learning, like Mrs. Jabulile said. Be clear on your goals, like one of the colleagues said. Know what you want, and then you can set about a plan to say, in this year, I want to go to site. In this year, I want to be involved in project management. In this year, I want to be doing this. So when you engage with a supervisor or mentor, they also now start thinking, how can they involve you in those type of projects, or which type of projects to make sure you achieve your goals. The only constant is change. So please, colleagues, learn to adapt. Don't just also come and say, I'm only going to be this. The world is forever evolving and changing, and sometimes we need to evolve and change with it. And then it's also good if you find a company that has signed a commitment and undertaking. This is them just saying they will involve you in the right projects to make sure you get the right experience. But if you are not registered with one, it's not a train smash. There's always ways to work around it. If you feel that where you are, you're not getting the right type of experience, you can always request secondments. And this is in particular for some colleagues, let's say in the public sector. You are overseeing projects that we are doing as consultants or contractors, request to be seconded to that consultant or contractor and see how they are doing things from that side and produce some stuff. Be committed, don't just be involved, participate. It's like Mrs. Jabulile said, that sometimes participating in activities outside of work, that's where you get to see people outside of that space and build those relationships. Another thing, be a first-rate version of yourself, be authentic, you're a brand, don't try to be someone else. And when you're faking certain things, it will eventually show. When you are stuck, ask for help. Don't suffer alone. You find that when you talk, a lot of people are experiencing the same challenges. And this also goes in hand with choosing your village wisely. The people you surround yourself can make or break you, and ensure that you develop accordingly. Grow your technical knowledge and be a person who's responsible for making the decisions. And mentoring is a golden thread. So always make sure you have mentors. Even at my big age, I still have people mentoring me or guiding me that I can always consult with. So in terms of parting shots, like I indicated, please go to the Engineering Council of South Africa website. Website is given there. And just play around. There's a tag for registration. That's where all the information is. It will tell you what you need, what educational standards or requirements you need to meet. How do you go about registering as a professional in your particular category based on the qualification you have. There's a new registration system. What is it that they require? Also, the forms get updated. So make sure that by the time you submit, you are submitting the right forms. Like when I submitted, they did not need for an engineer a summary of your grades in terms of the qualification, the subjects you are taking. But now with the updated forms, they do. So if I don't check the website regularly, I'll end up making the wrong submission, which will just delay the process for me. Then lastly, but not least, sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith between where you are and what you want to achieve. And you need to invest in your dreams. So meaning that at the beginning, it will be difficult. You put in the work, but later you will get to shine, like our sis Jabulile and Abo Nkululeko there. And if you don't know something, you don't need to be afraid, but just be open to learning. And yeah, just aluta continua, victory is definitely certain. So do not give up. You try again, you fall, you dust yourself up and you just continue. So yeah, thank you very much. That's just a high level summary of some things you can do in terms of preparing yourself for the road to registration at the Engineering Council of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanko. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I'm sure everyone now should be very well equipped on how they get there to get their professional registration, as professionals are needed in the industry. I've noted all the questions that are in the group chat, and I think due to the questions being a lot, it's okay, it's fine. So what's going to happen is we're going to send an email out to everyone whereby these questions are going to be answered in that email. And also another thing to note is that the recording of this meeting will be made available. I think it will be shared on YouTube, if I'm not wrong. So it will be made there to sort of recap on what we discussed today. Just before we end, I just want us to sort of tackle a few questions. I think 2 would be fine because I think these ones are interesting and are more applicable to the discussion we had today. And this is open to the panelists that were here. So the first question is, what leadership roles are there in engineering outside of the workspace? And the second question is, what tips would you give someone who started working and they're struggling to communicate in a large group? This can be during a project or even in a public speaking setting. Yes, Joe, would you
Hi.
there?
Okay. So I think maybe I can answer the second question. So there is ways that you can help improve your public speaking. There's something called Toastmasters. So you can join a Toastmasters group. And that is a social and fun way to try to learn how to improve your public speaking. Also, you know, a lot of our workplaces have these employee assistance programs like Kayelo, where you can actually write to them and request some coaching or soft skills training. And some of them may have this available to you. Ultimately, there's also courses online that are free through Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, where you can get tips on how to improve your public speaking.
Thank you, Jabulile. I think the last question that we have is what leadership roles are there outside of the working space? I think, yes, Nkululeko?
Oh, thank you. I think what you call the question is asked incorrectly. The question that the person asking it needs to be asking is what is their career aspiration and where are they trying to go with their career. So for example, if they're working at an ESCOM and the leadership role at an ESCOM is the senior manager, then the question should be what is the skills that senior manager obtained, or like the journey they went through. So for another example would be Usis Jabu again, to say how did she get to director role, and look at where you are, and then what is the gap between between where you are and where you're trying to go. I think the big thing is getting like the right role models, right? So the leadership roles, there are plenty, right? So depending on which industry, which organization you're at, and also again, leadership also is not like a position per se, because you could be a technician but leading a team. So that's why I think like the phrasing might be a bit of or think about rephrasing the question, and then by thinking about rephrasing the question, then it would unlock the answers and what you're trying to sort of achieve. And the one on public speaking, the question is, do you have, so it's the ones that Mrs. Chabu suggested, but you've got colleagues here who you are on YouTube, right? So if you're on YouTube, go do a live stream and start talking, right? So you practice just like that. You on TikTok, go on TikTok and start talking to the camera. Do a live, you can start with pre-recorded and then just do a live. That's how you will be better, I guess.
Thank you,
So just to
Nkululeko.
quickly add there as well, even
Yes.
what you are doing in Dumiling, that's practicing your public speaking. You know, you rather make a boo-boo here with your colleagues and you improve on it so that by the time you get to levels where you are presenting international papers, you've already done the practice run here. You're developing techniques to get over your stage fright. I mean, I started also not wanting to be in front of the camera. Godfather will tell you I was fine helping everyone from the backgrounds, but at some point, when you think about where is it that I want to go, you start putting yourself out there, you know. So even doing what you're doing, volunteering with associations or organizations, voluntary associations like CESA, CESA, or whichever one is within your discipline, that's also good points to develop that public speaking skill set.
Yes, correct. Yanko, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists. Right now, I'll hand over to Marisol to do the closing for us.
Can you see and hear me?
Yes, I can see you and hear you, Marisol.
Okay, great. Let me open my presentation. Can you see the presentation in presenter mode?
Yes, I can see your presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marisol Pinar. I am a civil engineer and I work for Begin, and I'm also the CESA YPF National Treasurer and Vice Chairperson, as well as the Free State Chairperson for the YPF. Okay, so today I'll just be doing the closing remarks for our wonderful session. I'd like to start off by thanking the organizers, Godfrey and your team, for this wonderful webinar. I think it went really, really well. We've got some good contributions here, a lot that we can learn. I also want to thank the participants for their engagement, for all your questions. We really appreciate your engagement. It's what makes these webinars work. And then I just wanted to say that these topics are crucial for our professional growth as graduates and young engineers. And I think it's great that we can get around the virtual table to talk about this. Let's start with a recap of the key points that were discussed. I'll try and be quick as we are a bit over time. So we started off with a job hunting topic from Mr. Matome. He emphasized the importance of starting early and being proactive in your job search and finding a mentor, setting realistic goals. And then also the value of preparing a strong resume and cover letter. And then he also touched on developing a growth mindset. So leverage the opportunities that you have, thinking what can you do, not what you can get out of it, and to advance your skills while you continue to search for a job. Then continuing to the next one, which was building a professional network from Mr. Nkululeko. We received excellent tips on how to empower ourselves as graduates. That's in terms of job hunting, networking strategies, and all of that. So first off, he started with giving us some nice tips and showing us the typical job hunting mistakes that we make. We should have clear aspirations. We should start at undergrad level, get involved in structures like CESA and CESA, and engage and find opportunities wherever we go. And then he also gave us some tips on networking mistakes that we typically make. So it's not about what the person can do for you, but what you can do for that person. What value can you add? And then he also gave us some great tips on graduate job hunting framework to be applied. Okay, going on to Mrs. Jabulile's topic, building your own path and navigating your own professional journey. To start off, she said, you don't know what you don't know, and that's definitely true as a graduate. You think you know everything because you've studied so hard, but you must remain curious and always figure out new ways to learn things. One of the other things that stood out for me is don't miss an opportunity to get involved in webinars like this, speaking at these webinars. Any opportunity you get, take it hands-on and make the best of it. And then in terms of your journey, everyone's path is unique. So don't compare yourself to other people. You'll also get there at the end. Your path just looks different than the guy next to you's path. And then 4 key things to remember. You'll remember that she said, be impeccable in your work. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions and always do your best. I think that's great principles to go by. And then lastly, we have Ms. Yanko's topic, Journey to Professional Registration with EXA. We learned a lot about the importance of professional registration, the different categories, the EXA outcomes, the degree of responsibility, where to find everything, which is often people don't have the right documents or the most updated documents, which is very important. And then she also shared some tips on jotting down everything you do so that it's easier by the time you need to register. You've got that records, you've got everything you did on hand. And then her final tips were also just be committed, don't just be involved, be authentic, ask for help, don't get stuck, super important. And choose your village nicely, which was something that stood out for me, is the people you surround yourself with, it has a big impact on your entire life. So choose your village nicely. It's good for me. Then let me go over to key takeaways. So, reflecting on today's session, I think it would be really great for all of us, not just graduates, not just young professionals, but even more seasoned professionals, is to take these insights, learn from each other, and then apply that to our own professional journeys, because we can always learn from one another. And then I'm going quite fast, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. But the call to action for today's session is stay engaged with professional bodies like CESA, CESA, all of those professional bodies, and participate in further webinars, workshops, networking events. There's so much out there that you can attend, because continuous learning and seeking mentorship is crucial for our growth. And we need to take charge of our professional development. It's in our hands. And then in close, I'd like to thank all of the speakers for their valuable insights and contributions. And thank you to all of the participants for your active involvement. I wish you guys all of the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think at this point we can end our meeting. Thank you everyone for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day further.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye-bye.